The FBI is the most sophisticated law enforcement agency in the world, pursuing the most dangerous criminals. In California, when a young girl vanishes,
We see Sandra Cantu skipping across the trailer park, going toward her house, and something catches her attention.
the Bureau mobilizes.
We had sexual deviants living in the trailer park. We just had other weirdos living in the trailer park.
What are the odds of Sandra still being alive?
FBI. Criminal Pursuit. March 27th, 2009. In the blue-collar town of Tracy, California, 8-year-old Sandra Cantu heads home after school. The second grader makes her usual afternoon rounds, knocking on doors and looking for playmates in her mobile home park.
I'll let them know you came by, okay? All right.
There's only 100 people that live here, so it's a very close-knit community. All the residents here knew each other and pretty much trusted each other.
Hours pass, and Sandra doesn't come home for supper. Her mother, Maria, worries. She begins calling her daughter's friends.
Hi, Kathleen, this is Maria. Have you seen Sandra?
No one has seen Sandra for hours.
Okay.
Maria always told the kids not to go outside the trailer park, and the kids never did. So when she went looking for her and couldn't find her, she knew something was wrong.
Just before 8 p.m., Maria calls the Tracy Police Department.
Tracy, please. Well, I have a missing daughter.
Okay, how old is she?
She's 8.
When's the last time you saw her?
Oh, it was about 3. She told me she was going over to this one girl to play, and she hasn't been home. And I went looking all over.
There's a 72% chance of finding a missing child in the first several hours. After that, every hour that passes, it drops off.
It's a statistic Tracy's new police chief, Janet Thiessen, can't stop thinking about. Though she's been with Tracy PD for less than 2 months, the chief is a veteran of law enforcement, and she's afraid for Sandra's life.
Statistics tell us if a child has actually been abducted, whether it's a known person or unknown, the likelihood that that child will be murdered is most often going to happen within those first 3 hours.
The police get a detailed description of Sandra and what she was wearing. They learn that Sandra lives with her mother, grandparents, and 3 older siblings. Everyone was home that afternoon, but no one saw Sandra playing outside. There was just one witness, a surveillance camera Sandra's grandfather had installed outside the family home to prevent vandalism. The lens captured Sandra's movements at 4 p.m., right before she vanished.
Sandra had the little Hello Kitty pink t-shirt on, looked like black leggings. This was the last that we knew she was in the mobile home park. So that was pretty important for us. It really helped us lock down that time frame.
Investigators learned that Sandra's divorced parents are undergoing a support payment battle. Could Sandra's father have taken her?
Dad had been out of the picture since Sandra was a young girl. We were able to verify that her biological father was not in Tracy at the time that she went missing.
Sandra's father is quickly ruled out as a person of interest. Hours have passed since Sandra disappeared, but there is no sign of the little girl.
It's the worst thing imaginable. You have this horrible feeling in your gut that something's terribly wrong, and you don't know what it is.
Maybe she's lost, facing some hypothermia. We may have a child who's dehydrated, who's very hungry. If she hadn't found shelter somewhere and wasn't someplace safe, then this was not a good situation for her.
A mother of two, Chief Thiessen empathizes with the family's growing anxiety.
It's just heart-wrenching, and we have a job to do. We have to move forward through it. But I think there's that human side of all of us that we think in the back of our mind, is this going to be that time where it's bad?
As dawn breaks, volunteers canvass the neighborhood, desperately searching for Sandra.
We had a helicopter unit out. We were using a FLIR unit to check for heat sensors in the area that we were flying over. We also were going door to door, asking people in the area, checking with some of the businesses, had they seen this little girl? We were coming up with nothing. Sandra, it just seemed, had literally disappeared.
With no known suspect or vehicle description, Tracy police are stumped. They issue an urgent bulletin on a missing child, which alerts the FBI's Child Abduction Rapid Deployment Unit, or CARD. Comprised of the world's leading experts on child abduction, the CARD unit can mobilize anywhere in the country within 4 hours. Team leader, Special Agent Joseph Brine, and his colleagues rush to Tracy as soon as they get the alert.
When we first responded to the Tracy Police Department, one of the first things they asked is, what are the odds of Sandra still being alive? Statistically speaking, 97% of the children who are abducted at this point in time have been murdered. But it's our job to focus both the FBI and the Tracy Police Department on that 3%, because there's a chance that she is alive.
For the first time in his 15-year career, Special Agent Brine gets a first-hand look at what is at stake in the video of Sandra's last known moments.
To see Sandra was something, as an FBI agent, you don't see on a regular basis. And it was just something that had an emotional impact.
The case hits close to home for Special Agent Todd Davis.
I had 3 little girls that I raised, and so it's very emotional, particularly when you're trying to find a child. You get very focused on that, and you forget to eat. You don't sleep when you go home. You can't get that out of your head.
The FBI's first priority is questioning all the residents inside the neighborhood. They quickly realize that Sandra's popularity makes everyone a suspect.
So, how was your day? Good.
She talked with everybody. She always asked if she can help with the yard or help cooking. She liked to cook.
Sandra was very friendly. She had a way to just capture your heart, and she had a beautiful smile. She was always smiling.
Like most of the children here, Sandra was allowed to roam free, and everyone opened their doors to the little brunette with a quick smile.
The kids just would go out and play all together, and it's a small place, so we just knew that she'd be safe.
Every little detail sometimes will reveal some kind of pattern, some kind of activity that may lead to a significant turn in the case.
Sandra was in just about every trailer, and she knew just about everybody. So it made our job a little bit more difficult because every trailer was now in play for us to investigate.
Roadblocks are put in place around the area, and all vehicles searched. Investigators have no solid leads until they get a tip from a concerned neighbor, the mother of Sandra's best friend. The neighbor sends a text message to Sandra's mother that a large suitcase was stolen from her driveway around the same time Sandra went missing. It could be an unrelated incident, but investigators are concerned. The neighborhood borders the 205 freeway, which connects the Bay Area to the town of Tracy.
It would have been very easy for someone to come into this area, drive a couple blocks, see this little girl, and pick her up. If in fact it was a stranger abduction in that type of a scenario, would we ever be able to get any information?
The FBI speculates about who Sandra's abductor might be.
Our behavioral analyst unit told us that we should be looking at predominantly male individuals who knew Sandra, who resided in the trailer park. So we started to look at individuals who had contact with Sandra over the past couple of years, adult males in particular.
But at this point, their profile is hypothetical and only based on statistics.
In this case, we don't have a crime scene. And without a crime scene, there really is insufficient information that we can use to form a profile about what might have happened.
There's one other thing the FBI profilers know is likely: that Sandra's abductor knows her well and is someone close to home.
For the most part, we remain fixated on the idea that an offender is going to be familiar with the victim or the victim's neighborhood in some way.
Tracy Police Detective Tim Bauer is on the investigative team. He's been to the trailer park on other cases and recognizes Sandra's family. Like everyone else, he can't rest until the girl is found.
And this is the type of case that you could not think about even when you're not at work. And you want to be here 24 hours a day yourself looking for the child that's missing.
The FBI works with the Tracy PD to quickly put together an emergency operations center.
We utilized about 65 FBI agents and about 26 detectives from Tracy PD. You'd have a whole row of people that were managing the tips as they came in off 3 different computers.
Every second counts, and investigators want as many people as possible to know about the case.
Everything was such a blur. We had been talking to the media to try and get her picture out there so people were aware of her in case they saw her. We wanted our little girl home.
No resources spared as searchers use helicopters with thermal imaging, dive teams, cadaver dogs, and volunteer foot patrols.
2 of the largest searches for a missing person that have ever been done in Northern California's history. We had approximately 250 people out searching for Sandra.
A lot of the police officers told us that it was like they were searching for their own daughter. Sandra became Tracy's daughter.
Everyone's hopes sink when a search team at the town dump unearths a pink shirt, exactly like the one Sandra was wearing. Investigators approach her family with solemn news of their discovery.
After talking with the family again, we were able to figure out that it was not the right size. It was almost that sigh of relief. Okay, we still are operating on the belief that we are looking for Sandra being alive.
If Sandra is still alive, investigators know that time isn't on their side.
On video.
They pore over the last known images of her, searching for the smallest clue.
She looks like she's coming towards home, then all of a sudden she turns her head to the right and heads off in a different direction from where she was coming. I probably looked at it 40, 50 times, trying to figure out what else might have happened that caught her attention.
Nothing more is seen on the tape until a neighbor drives by 8 minutes later. A canine unit can only track Sandra's scent for a couple of yards.
We had some dogs track her scent down this street. So we know, of course, she traveled to the end of the street up to that corner. And that's the last scent that we were able to pick up at that point.
Investigators interview anyone in the neighborhood who is a registered sex offender or has a criminal record. The list of persons of interest is shocking.